Hey y'all, and welcome back to Old Iron Talk. I'm your host, Callie Gerton, and today we have special guest Austin Anders. Austin helps run and is the director of a historical society and heritage center in Kansas. So he's going to chat with us a little bit about the stuff that they have, their goals and missions, and what they do to help preserve old iron. We're excited to see everything that they have as he gives us a little walkthrough around everything, and we hope you enjoy this episode of Old Iron Talk. All right, so we're here today with Austin, and he works at the Heritage Center, so he's going to tell us a little bit about that, and we're kind of excited to chat with him and see what they have done and been able to do to preserve the history of some of this old iron. So Austin, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you got into the Heritage Center, and what your background is.
Okay. Well, again, my name is Austin Anders. I'm the director of the Dickinson County Historical Society in Abilene, Kansas. The museum is our Heritage Center. How I got into this is in 2016, I moved back from northern Iowa. I was working for a restoration shop up there, and I was looking for something to do during my nights and weekends I had off from the job I had at that time. We kind of reinstituted what was known as the work night group. We now call it the Tuesday work night group. And that's how a lot of our ag equipment things around here continue to stay ticking, is that particular group. When we started, there was 3 of us that were doing the work on all the antique tractors and cars and some of the building work that we have around here. In 2021, they were in the process of looking for a director. At the time, I was on the board as vice president of the board, and we had gone through a long list. We'd gone through about a 2-3 month process trying to find somebody that would be suitable for the historical society. I had a board member call me one night, our board president, and he was kind of freaking out because we just had a candidate that we thought were going to be really, really excellent. Unfortunately, that particular person could not accept the position after going through the whole process. And I kind of got him calmed down and said, we'll find somebody. So I hung up the phone, and there's always that little thing in the back of your head that goes, you have an opportunity here. You need to take the opportunity. So I called the board president back and I says, hey, look, this is going to sound really wild, but I said, I'm interested in the position. But the only way I'm going to do this if I have a full board interview. So one night in September, it was a cold, rainy day. We all came in. I had about a 35-minute interview with the board. And in 5 minutes of after getting accepted me as the director. So as far as the director is the position itself, basically I kind of maintain the day-to-day operations of the Historical Society. A little bit of my background: I grew up here in Dickinson County, 6 miles south of Chapman, Kansas, an historic home. I graduated from Chapman High School, and I went on to McPherson College, and I got my degree in automotive restoration and business management. So antique tractors, antique cars have always been something that's been in my life. And this is kind of one of those unique, rare deals where sometimes when the opportunity knocks, you just take a hold of it and go. So.
No, I understand that, and I think you're probably in a good position from what I've seen and read. I know one thing that I read online when I was looking at your guys' website, and I know you just mentioned it, that you grew up in kind of a historic home. Was that on a farm, or can you give us a little history on that?
Yes. So Prospect Park Farm was built in the 1870s and 1880s. The particular family that came out from Cincinnati, Ohio, they were merchants, and they heard that the next great boom for financial wise was farming. So a son and a dad named the Taylors, John Hiram and his son, John Jr., came out to Kansas, to Junction City. They bought 2 horses at Junction City after they got off the train and rode till the grass got as tall as the belly of the horses, and they bought 9 square miles of land at that time. They and the Hollingers, which was just down the road from them, were the 2 biggest farmers in that particular area. Right now, the current farmstead is about 200 acres. It is a stone house with 2 big stone barns, its own blacksmith shop. Wow. So it's kind of a really unique way to grow up.
Yeah, I bet. Well, that's very cool. Do you have any pictures of that place?
I do have several pictures that I can send you that.
I was going to say, that would be, I don't necessarily have to put them in here, but I'd be interested just to see it. That sounds like a very cool place to grow up. Okay, well, thank you for letting us know a little bit about yourself and how you got into the position. We're going to talk a little bit now about the museum and center and everything. So, if you could tell us a little bit about what is the mission of the Heritage Center?
So our mission is to collect and preserve historic items from Dickinson County and be able to tell the stories of those particular items to not only the residents of Dickinson County, but to the guests that travel through our area. We're situated right alongside I-70, and we get a lot of people that come from California, Florida, all over this country that will stop in, ride our carousel, come see the ag building, come see about our county history and the end of the trails. I mentioned our carousel. C.W. Parker, other than Dwight D. Eisenhower, is probably our next most famous person to come from here, and he was known as the Carnival King. So that kind of gives it. Basically, we always call ourselves we're three in one. You have our county history, you have the history of the telephone, and then you have kind of our village out back with original barn, our cabin, things like that.
Well, that's awesome. When did this place, like, when was it founded?
Okay, so the story of the Historical Society itself. In 1928, the Commercial Club was meeting in downtown Abilene, and there was known for a need for some kind of historical society. Most of the residents that settled in Dickinson County came around that 1850, mid 1850s mark. And so by that time, there was actually already a lot of history here. So we came out of that commercial club with, okay, we're going to set up this different entity known as the Historical Society. We started out as part of the city. Once we kind of expanded to the county, that county courthouse actually let us use their basement, and we gathered artifacts until about 1969, 70, when the county courthouse was looking to expand, and they says, you guys need to go find yourselves a new home. In 1971, the current location that we're in was actually an automobile museum, and Eisenhower had bought it from the original owners, and we said, okay, we'll take it over. We purchased it for $40,000. The only problem was we only had enough artifacts at the time to fill about half the building up. So we partnered with the independent telephone museum, or independent telephone companies throughout the state and region, and we actually set up a history of the telephone area. C.O. Brown is from this particular area. He actually grew up by the Buckeye community. And for those that may know the term Sprint or T-Mobile, a lot of their roots are right here in Abilene, Kansas, with United Telephone Company. There, we started putting different buildings that we brought in, or for instance, like the ag building that's behind me, we had put up in 1990. The carousel building we put up in 84 when we got the carousel in 76. But we didn't have the funds. They were trying to raise the funds for that building, and they actually took the carousel and went to the different town celebrations in 76 and beyond and raised the funds for its particular building. The rest of the buildings have either been donated and we've raised the funds to bring them in, or like the blacksmith shop, somebody donates the blacksmith shop and we just build a building to house all that equipment.
Okay. I know you sent in a good picture of the carousel. Where did that come from, or how did you guys come upon that?
So the carousel itself came from Riverton, Wyoming.
Okay.
And in about 1974, 75-ish time frame, we were made aware of it. It was in a theater area, and drive-in movie theater. And so 8 board members went up there and checked it out, and there was literally just the base of the carousel and the steam engine. They took all the horses and all the chariots off and put it in 6 different buildings downtown Riverton, Wyoming. So once those 8 board members looked at it and go, yeah, this is what we want, this is part of our Abilene history, they come back and they raise the funds that were needed to purchase the carousel. They took 2 semi trucks up to Riverton, loaded it all up, brought it back. Several different local people worked on the restoration of it during 1975, so they would be ready for the 76 centennial.
Okay, that's very cool. I was gonna say it turned out very well from that picture you sent, so that would be an awesome item, and I'm sure that's quite the attraction when people come through. Now, I know you said you have people that kind of pass through all the time and you kind of are in a good location. Are you guys open 365 days a year, or when can people stop by and check everything out?
I would say so. Most of the year we are open Wednesday through Sunday. Wednesday through Saturday we're open we're open 10 to 5, and Sunday we're open 1 to 5. Now, between the months, our winter months, which would be November through April, we're open Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 10 to 5.
Well, good. So I hope people watch this and then maybe they come check you out sometime. But okay, now you said right now you're in the ag building, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do you mind to maybe start kind of giving us a walk around so we can look at some of the stuff you guys have? I know over the years you guys have added quite the collection, but while you do that, if you could kind of talk about how do you guys come upon these items and how do you get them for the museum?
Well, a lot of them, it just depends on the person, and most everything in here has been donated.
Okay.
There's actually very, very few things in the museum that we have actually had to purchase, which is a very good thing as a museum. So we'll start with the two farm-alls. Both of these tractors have been donated. Actually, the 400 International there is probably our newest acquisition. We've had it for maybe about 9 months. He was actually a local board member of ours and really liked this 400 International. Right now it's in the process of getting up, and we're carburetor working on it better or more efficiently. And it's actually going to be one of our feature tractors for this year's show, as we're doing the 100th or 101th anniversary of the farm-all name. The little H beside is kind of our workhorse around here. We have a 10-acre plot that we farm, and we get it out to run the small grain binder. If we need to mow, if we need to do any kind of the farming activities, we generally try to use it. And there's one other one as we go on down the way that we try to use for the farming stuff specifically. The windmill was there's two local gentlemen that were on the board that about 5-6 years ago took a lot of time and got it up and going, and we decided we were going to put it in our ag building so people can see it. Being windy in Kansas, we didn't really want to set it outside and watch one of those rig storms come in, but it's kind of neat. It's kind of something different. There's only about 2-3 museums in the state of Kansas that has a windmill like this one. We do have antique cars as well. This particular car right here is known as the Davis Brothers car. This is more of a memorial car that we have here. There's been 3 sheriffs that's died in the line of duty in Dickinson County. The Davis brothers both died on the same day. They got called at 3:00 in the morning for a dispute between 2 brother-in-laws on where they wanted their silo. They called up the Davis brothers to go out and check on things. When they arrived, the brother-in-law decided to shoot at the car, which the car, it's real steel. It didn't hurt the car, didn't hurt them in there, but he took off towards the barn. And so they thought, well, we're going to let him do his thing. We're going to go check on the people inside. They got to the front porch, and it had 2 doors on each side of that front porch. Unbeknownst to the 2 sheriffs, the brother-in-law had a rifle in the barn, so when he stepped out of the door of the barn, he shot both of the sheriffs right there on site, drugged the bodies inside, and lit the house on fire with gasoline.
Oh my God.
And the only way they were able to identify the 2 brothers was by their badges and the guns that they found in the ashes that next morning. It's kind of one of those, a really sad thing, but it's kind of one of those historic pieces you just don't have around. So we have several different tractors, makes, models, Minneapolis Moline. The other tractor that we use a lot for farming is this 36 John Deere. We also use it for parades as well, because it does clean up very nice, and it is a very easy starting tractor. There was a work night group before the current one in 2016 that actually restored this tractor. What's in front of me right now is our stationary engine or hit and miss trailer. A gentleman there in Solomon by the name of Carlson had set this up to go to different shows. And when he passed away, his son decided to donate it to us. And we get it out for Heritage Days and try to run them, or at least have them on display anyways, depending on how many people we have out. The Fordson is kind of a little unique story. Supposedly at one point in time, this was the second oldest Fordson in existence.
Wow.
They actually took it out to Detroit, and they kind of they confirmed that. I don't know if that's still a true story. You know, as time goes by, people find things in the barns and the shed, and it may be third or fourth. And there was like I said, a previous work night group that worked on this tractor to make it run. So I noticed some people are looking real hard. The carburetor's not right, and a couple other things, but it is there, and we do have all the pieces. This is kind of a unique piece here. Our Hyder tractor. It is a friction drive tractor. It runs on these big friction wheels back here in the back. This is our Hyder tractor. This whole engine moves back and forth, and depending on where you're at on those wheels, there is how fast or slow you'll go in your field. This is about a 1918 model, and it's a fun trout. People, you don't see a friction drive tractor very often. Get it out and people see it, they go, well, that's a unique and interesting way to be able to power without losing a gear or two. The rest of the tractors down the line, we have two McCormick Deerings, a W30 and a 2236. The 2236 was originally brought in to run our sawmill. It does run, but our magneto, we got to work on it a little bit. The Twin Cities was owned by the Bathurst family in Talmadge, and they did a lot of farming work with it. It's a little bit of a unique tractor as well. One of our more unique pieces is this 1918 Hyder tractor built by the Rock Island Company. The thing that makes this unique is it does not have a typical transmission. It is actually a friction drive system. You have two wheels on the back side behind the engine that carries the friction and allows your tractor to move forward or backward depending on what position you are on those flywheels. So that kind of concludes some of the things here in the ag building. You'll see we have some signs out and around. Duckwell Alco was one of our big businesses here in town, and so we have some of their signage up. We have a Morris Fairbank sign, and our Kidwell Poultry Farm. They were in Enterprise, Kansas, and they were a big poultry family for many years, starting from basically World War II to up about 5-6 years ago.
Wow.
When they moved away. So,
okay, now I know you've mentioned a couple times that you guys have Heritage Days. Is that like a working farm show that you have, or what is that?
So Heritage Days is the first Saturday in October. Okay. And as I'm walking along, I'll kind of go out to our field here a little bit. Okay. But we down our midway here, we have all kinds of different demonstrators that are set up, from somebody cooking in our cabin to we have different people. We have 3 blacksmiths. There'll be the blacksmith shop. We'll have one of our vendors will set up in our Brooklyn grocery store. We'll have a school farm in the schoolhouse. Okay. We have wool spinners and just different things that would be kind of the, I guess I want to say, domestic side on this side of the place. We do open the barn up. We do have people that do sheep shearing in there, as well as goat milking, and the kids get involved in that. When we go across the 10 acres, we do run corn shellers and thrashing machines that day. And then we have a tractor show on our 10-acre field. And then as we turn around here, we have our 1902 American sawmill, and we do run it. It's a little fragile, so we got to be careful how we run it, but we do run it for Heritage Days, and a lot of people get a kick out of seeing just the different entities and what's going on. So
yeah. What do you guys do with like when you run the sawmill? What do you do with the wood and lumber that you have from that afterwards?
So normally what we do is if we have a specific project that we're cutting it up for, obviously we'll keep it back for that. Generally, we have local woodworkers that are looking for rough sawn wood. We
Okay.
saw mostly cedar or pine with it, and they'll give us a donation towards the lumber.
I know too.
We
So you said it's on like about 10 acres, and I know you said you guys have a field. Do you normally plant a crop out there? I think I saw you guys doing some corn picking in one of the videos that you sent.
yes. So generally we do oats and we'll do corn. We have done sunflowers in the past, and we
Okay.
have done the original turkey red winter wheat, which is what kind of put us as Dickinson County on the map as far as the wheat is concerned. This year we did oats and corn. We kind of because of the help that we were going to have this year. We have several different pieces of equipment.
Okay.
Just across here, you can see that sawmill we're going to be restoring here in the wintertime. We got some hay bales that we hayed off on the brome grass. We went ahead and did big round bales and had a local farmer come in to do that for us. But what we generally do with our oats, if we don't have a trailer available to us, we'll round it. We'll do it in a big round bale. It just takes one of them for the day for Heritage Days,
Okay.
so it makes it kind of easier. But yeah, we have a lot of different thrashing machines and equipment throughout the field.
So what, I mean, as far as this property goes, was there an original building here when it was first purchased?
This building at the end here is our main building, and like I said, that was originally a automobile museum. It
Yeah.
was owned by the Etherington family at that time, and they were them, and the Lacer family from Junction City were kind of the two big thrusts behind that museum, and they started it in about 63, and I think they shut it down in about 67, 68.
Okay. Right, yeah. So Austin's going to take us around here in their main museum building and kind of show us some of the stuff they've got in here.
So right now, kind of what we're going around, Shockey and Landy's was one of our biggest as far as Abilene goes. Dealerships at the time, you could buy your wagons, your cars, your farm equipment. You could buy anything you needed for the house, just kind of whatever you needed. They were in business, probably one of the very first businesses in Abilene to be set up and sell lots of. We talked a little bit about C.L. Brown. That is Mr. C.L. Brown himself there. Okay. And his wife. This actually is a piece of furniture out of their house that would have been down on Main Street. He actually he grew up as a farm boy, and so he was trying to decide what to do, and he ended up buying into the local power company, and it was actually a Waterworld Power electric generator. And when he made enough money, he bought it outright, and then he started buying both generator type companies and telephones companies. And he built his business over, well, from about 1899 to about 1939 when he retired. He had about over 14 states. He had somewhere around 24, 25 different businesses.
Wow.
And, from them on the timeline, it kind of switched over to Sprint, kind of got them bought out. And then, of course, T-Mobile came in and they merged here not too many years ago. So,
very cool.
So we have our insulators that are over here. So we have insulator collection that's part of it. We obviously talk about the early history with Alexander Graham Bell, and we kind of have the evolution of the telephone wall. Is kind of one of the big perks there as far as the telephone museum.
Wow.
All the way up to the, So kind of a neat thing there. This kind of gives you kind of a brief synopsis of the telephone museum and what it is. This Model T here was actually sold by the Cruise automobile dealership here in Abilene. They were the first Ford dealership. Okay. And when the widow got tired of this little Model T in 71, it was brought here. We made a special area for it, and it's been sitting here ever since. It does turn over. I would suspect with a few little hours of tinkering, it would probably be able to run again. So we have just all kinds of different things, whether we talk about towns. Uh, these are some of the smaller towns in our community I'm backing up towards right now. We have an area for our rodeo and different things that we have around here. The cattle trade and stuff is unfortunately down in that dark alleyway. This is kind of our town's room, is what we call it. And it's several of the towns that are still, have a city council and is still going strong. Probably one of the more interesting stories in here, if we go back to kind of the beginnings of our county, so to speak, there's a little town called Buchanan. And it was just south of where now Solomon sits, kind of at the fork of the Solomon River and the Smoky Hill River. And it was originally set up by a bunch of gentlemen back in the eastern part of our state as a slave town, because we're still at this time, we're still at Civil War time. We're talking about, okay, which way is Kansas going to go? We come over here to the little town of Detroit, Kansas. This would actually been the town that would have been considered the free town. And it was actually the first actual town that actually sprang up that stuck and stayed. Okay. It is still there to this day. There's about 130, 140 occupants in the town itself. It's unincorporated, but it is still there standing strong. So and we got a few other towns here that we highlight that's in our community.
You guys have put together this museum very well. It's very nice.
Well, we appreciate that. It's there's been a lot of people over many, many years that has took a lot of time and a lot of heart to make this place what it is.
No, it's awesome what you guys are doing there. Well, yeah, I'm gonna, I guess, kind of jump back and talk about some of the equipment and stuff that we highlighted earlier. What is your favorite piece of equipment that you guys currently have?
Well, that little H farmall does just about it all. It's the workhorse of the group, and we really enjoy it. It's the one we can actually get out and run, and you get a group together to go out there and talk about, you'll get a group that talks about the days when they used to bind, and then you'll have the group that's actually working on it. So when we do that day, you kind of came together as a community when harvest time came around, and you hear the stories of, 10 families getting together, and the ladies would do the lunches in the for the men that were working, and the stories of people being ornery and playing jokes on each other just to kind of break up the time as you're waiting to get your load thrashed through the thrashing machine and things like that. Yeah. So it not only does it help the next generation out as understand how things were done, but it lets the older generation tell those stories so that those don't get lost to history.
Yeah, no, that's always great when you have one generation kind of teaching the next. So that's awesome that you guys can be a part of that. What do you guys have any involvement like with the local schools or anything, or how do you guys work to get kids involved in this stuff?
So we have several different ways that we get involved with the local schools. And we're kind of starting just throughout our year. In the wintertime, we have a art show that we host here. And all the students from all the schools come in and they get to display their artwork. This year, we're going to actually have local professional artists judge the show and do things like that. Our work night group, we have 2 or 3 young men that come in and are really interested and hungry in learning mechanics and the blacksmithing and some of those different skills that we just may not necessarily have around anymore. We do have historic skills classes in the winter time. We've had anywhere from wool spinning to hand quilting, blacksmithing. In April, we do a sawmill class for the past 2 years. Up the summer, it kind of depends on what we're harvesting, but we'll try to put on Facebook or other local connections saying, hey, if you want to come experience this, we're doing this today. And then obviously for our Heritage Days, we try to reach out to the local community, say, here, we're doing this. Come learn about your history and how it works and operates. We also have an old-fashioned Christmas here that
That's cool.
that people can kind of see what it was like during Christmas in the cabin and things like that. So
Okay.
there's just a lot of different ways we reach out.
Yeah, that's very cool. Are there any upcoming projects or visions for the center?
Well, there's upcoming projects. Once our historic center is done, which will be our multi-purpose room where we can hold a lot of these events,
Okay.
we're looking at kind of doing just some more maintenance things. So the cabin itself, some of the chinking is starting to come out, so we need to get that taken care of and replaced. We have a 23 Gleisner sawmill that come in. I mentioned Shockey and Landys earlier. We have a very, very strong suspicion it was actually bought from Shockey and Landys as kind of a through seller. And it has been in our county, as far as we know, its entire life.
Okay.
And it was on a farm about 3 miles from our very location, just south of us here. And we're very, very excited to get it sandblasted and cleaned up, get the Babbitt redone in it, and get it as a working sawmill again.
Yeah, that would be awesome to add too. What are some personal experiences or insights that you feel like you have gained yourself from being in this position and in this kind of industry?
Some of the neater stories, well, one of the neater stories that I've heard from people coming in, we had a lady, she was 92 years old, and she actually remembers being a telephone operator during World War II.
Wow.
And at that time, most of your phone calls was made during the day between 6 and 10. But of an evening, most of everything was an emergency phone call, except for World War II, because when they're over in Germany, it's about 2, 3 o'clock when the soldiers can call over in the morning for us. And when she would take phone calls from the soldiers, she'd get them connected in, and then all of a sudden, everybody would pick up the party line. And so she would have to, tell everybody, if you're not family members to this particular soldier, we need you to get off the line. And the reason why is you only had so much electricity to get that telephone message to the family, and the more people picked up, the less that signal became.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a neat one. The Davis brothers car, one of the would be a nephew, is a local sheriff for Chapman Police Department, and he brought his police car out one day, and we got a picture with him and his uncle's car and his modern car. And so that was kind of a neat evening to be able to talk to him and get more insight into the family and what has happened that way.
Yeah.
As far as the farming and agriculture stuff, to me, it's able to pass on all this wonderful knowledge and information so that we can keep this stuff going.
That's awesome. I think what you do is very cool, and I bet you get to meet some awesome people. All right, so you've obviously been involved and around this stuff for a little bit now, but what could somebody do either locally or maybe somebody that is just interested in it to kind of help preserve the history and preserve heritage centers like the one that you're a part of?
Well, first of all, just reach out to the local Heritage Center and see what they have available. Talk to them about, if your goal is to, hey, we'd like to see like the Dickinson County Historical Society, like Gossel, like Bird City, all these different shows that we have, not only in Kansas, but across the United States. We would like to start something like that with a group, talk with their board, have a conversation with them and go, hey, this is what we would like to do, and see if they're open to it. If not, find one that's by you that already has that particular thing going on and see how you can contribute towards that group. A lot of those groups are they're very open arms, they're very friendly and very happy to have somebody come in and to work on these things and enjoy the hobby with the rest of the group.
Do you guys personally face very many challenges with like finding stuff, finding help or anything like that? Or for the most part, do you feel like you have a pretty good group and community backing you?
We definitely have a very good community backing us for sure. Being in Abilene, Kansas, we're definitely within the travel industry. And, some of our industry friends around our area are very specific. So, for instance, we have a train that runs, we have Greyhound, we have Eisenhower, and a lot of those are specific. The great thing about the Historical Society here, it is such a broad range of things that you can get into. And so that helps us community-wise with the volunteers. again, our community, they back us quite a bit. They help us out a lot on trying to find things. But luckily, most of the tractors that have been donated, you can still call up Steiner's and go, hey, I need this.
Yeah.
That little H farm all, we had a trouble with cutout on it. We called them up, and within a couple of days, we had a new cutout for it.
That's great. Yeah, it's always good when you have the backing of the community and other people to look out for advice as well. So that's great that you guys have that behind yourselves. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share with everybody, kind of about what you guys are doing or what you might have upcoming?
Well, we'll talk about the Heritage Days. It's October 5th, 412 South Campbell Street here in Abilene, Kansas at the Heritage Center. It's $10 for adults, $5 for kids. There's a family pack for $25 for two adults or two or more kids for those that want to come out for that day. That's kind of our upcoming event is Heritage Days, and we'll have a carousel running. You can ride as many times as you want for free. We'll have the midway filled with demonstrators. We'll have a tractor show, car show. New this year, we'll have a buggy and wagon show.
I hope we have a good turnout for that, because that'll...
For sure.
Yeah.
And then as far as, encouragement, go talk to your local historical society, go volunteer and have fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of rewarding. It doesn't pay well, but you add another zero to that other zero, it seems better.
Yeah. No, I think you're probably getting a lot of fulfillment from what you do. And I know people definitely probably appreciate everything that you put into it. So that's great. All right. Well, thanks for coming on with us today. I really think what you're doing is awesome. And the little, like I said, community and everything that you guys have built there is very cool. And it's great that there are places like this to help preserve the history, because without it, people wouldn't know about this kind of stuff. So I hope you guys continue to do what you're doing and continue to grow and add more to your center.
All right. Well, we appreciate the opportunity to come on here. This is a great way to share how all this history goes.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye.
You can find all the source material for our episodes on our website, oldirongarage.com. We encourage everyone to join us on Old Iron Garage and connect with other collectors. Again, we would like to thank Austin for joining us today. We really enjoyed learning about the Heritage Center and Austin's role in helping to preserve the history of old iron. You can submit your collection photos to info@oldirongarage.com to be featured at the end of our episodes. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or would like to join us on a future episode of Old Iron Talk. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.